Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother. He's cooking with helium, Matthew Henry. How you doing, Matthew?
I'm great. And I wish I had some helium, because I'd be sucking that down and speaking to this whole podcast in a helium-like voice. But unfortunately, I don't have any because it was an emergency and I didn't have time to plan. And but you know, I feel like cooking with helium was I feel like it was, you know, cooking with gas, and then it's like the Jetsons kind of version of it. Like they're like, oh, there's this newfangled gas called helium, and we should just say cooking with helium, and that's how I. That's
exactly
that.
Where it came from.
Is that right?
That's exactly how it happened. It was a space age-ified version of cooking with gas, and it was like from the 60s space age. You know, the real space age when.
We actually went to the space,
and did cool things, and So that is absolutely correct. I'm glad you're not completely breathing in helium all the time, Matthew, because if you do that, you'll pass out, because there's no oxygen in helium because it's helium.
Oh, okay, yeah, folks, don't be sniffing the helium for more than a few seconds.
Well, yeah, I mean, because your brain doesn't know there's no oxygen in it. You know, and that's in fact not the thing that your body knows. Like, your body doesn't know that it's running out of oxygen. What it knows is it's breathing in too much of carbon dioxide. I don't know. But anyway, that's so you don't know that you're running out of air when you do that.
Okay, all right, but that's not why we're here. And
did you also know? Oh, really? That's not why we're here? We're not here to talk about helium facts?
No. Let's get to the good stuff, man.
Because we're not supposed to be here at all. We're not supposed to be here at all, are we? I was about to tell you about the stockpile of helium the United States government has.
Well, maybe we'll save that for another episode, or maybe at the end of this episode. Okay. So stick around until I'll throw out some extra helium facts for the end of the show. That'll entice you to stay, and while we do the boring stuff. But we're not supposed to be here at all, Matthew. No, we were on hiatus.
We're on hiatus. We're on a monthly schedule.
And then we said, but we would be back if we had a big free agent signing.
That's right. And quite frankly, I'm not sure if, we had to strike now while the iron was hot.
That's right. Well, you don't sign Juan Soto every day, Ben.
Yeah, that's true. You don't. and they didn't today.
They didn't?
No.
Why are we here then?
Because they signed somebody else.
Oh, okay.
They solved the biggest problem that I said they had to solve. You can thank me for this.
They did when they fired Farhan.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. This was the second box on the list.
Oh, shortstop.
They're just going down my checklist, checking off boxes.
All right. So we signed Ha-Sung Kim. I love it.
Yeah. Well, no. No, and I am as shocked as you are. No, Matthew, the Giants signed Willy Adames.
Yes, they did.
And I'm stunned.
I'm stunned too. I'm stunned. I'm so stunned that I didn't even know it was happening. So,
yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, Matthew, we have to reveal some uncomfortable truths.
Why? Why do we keep doing this?
What? Because this is why people come, Matthew.
This was your idea, and it was. I'm going to file a grievance with the union.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Do that.
All right. What is your uncomfortable truth?
My uncomfortable truth, Matthew, is that I have imaginary shouting matches with fictional people when I am home alone. I make up a scenario. A
scenario. Okay.
Yeah, and I create a fictional person, like a Karen or a Chad, somebody, right? And then I have a shouting match where I really put them in their place. And I construct in my own imaginary world a scenario where I always win the argument.
Okay.
Just so that I can sometimes have a win. And that's not even the uncomfortable truth.
Oh, okay. What's the uncomfortable truth?
Sometimes I don't win.
Man, that's low when you can't win your own arguments.
Yeah. I go through all that effort and work to create this whole scenario too. Well, the shower is like 35 minutes long. Chad'll
get you every now and then.
He does. Sometimes Karen too. I know. It seems surprising, but sometimes. All right, now you go.
Oh man. Okay. All right. The one thing that comes immediately to mind is that, I live in wine country. And so we talk a lot about wine here. And there are people who know a lot about wine. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm with them, I ask them what they think of the wine. And then I say the same thing back using different words. Like they'll be like, oh, I taste chocolatey notes and a little bit of sage on the back. And I'll be like, yes. Oh, I so agree. When I was drinking it, I was like, Hershey bar and the salad. Yes.
No.
No?
No, they know.
Oh, okay.
They know, Matthew.
All right. Well, now I'm uncomfortable.
Anyway, today is Saturday, December 7th, as we record this podcast, this emergency podcast. And is it an emergency? Is Willy Adames really worth an emergency podcast? And first of all, yes, because everybody's special and everybody deserves their own special emergency podcasts. But not from us. We're not going to do this for every free agent they sign. But this is the biggest contract that the Giants have ever done. This is bigger than the Buster Posey contract. The Giants have never committed more money than this to a single player at a single time. And if that's not a reason to have an emergency podcast, I don't know what else is. So that is what we are talking today. We are talking about the Willy Adames signing and all of the things that it means. We're going to talk a lot about Adames himself and what he's going to bring, what he doesn't bring. We're going to give some of you ammo to hate this signing because we know that some of you, that's how you live your life, right? Maybe the imaginary people that you're having arguments with are fictitious people from the Giants front office.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's who you're yelling at. And I bet you, unlike me, always win those arguments. So we're going to give you some ammo to have in those fictional arguments that you're going to be having. And then we're going to talk about what it means for the free agent signings. I mean, the free agent market after this, or especially what the Giants are going to be pursuing. And we're going to do all of those things. But before we do that, we have to talk about our cocktails. Oh, yeah, Bob couldn't make it today.
Yeah. He's sunning himself in Tahiti and couldn't quite.
Yeah, I mean, Tahiti now?
The guy gets around, man.
Where was he? Was in what was that? What's that other one?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. It might have been Tahiti. Is he just going to Tahiti all the time?
Maybe he's got a little
like a bungalow. He's got a bungalow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyway, what are you drinking today, Matthew?
Well, I'm drinking an original cocktail, Ben.
Whoa.
That I'm calling Rudolph's Nose.
Nice.
And as you might guess, it's red. It's a red cocktail.
So. I hope so. I hope it doesn't taste like venison nose.
No. It definitely it's definitely got a little Christmas cheer. So what's in a Rudolph's Nose? Well, there's a lot. So I apologize, but this was a little kind of experiment that I just kept adding stuff and it just kept being tasty and I couldn't stop. So anyway, it's got 2 ounces of London dry gin, 1 ounce of unsweetened cranberry juice, not cranberry, drink or whatever. It's got to be 100% unsweetened cranberry juice, a 1/2 ounce of Allspice Dram, a 1/4 ounce of Grand Marnier, a 1/4 ounce of Amaro Nonino, a half ounce of lime juice, and a half ounce of rich cinnamon syrup, and 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Put all those ingredients into a cocktail shaker with ice, shake it till it's well chilled, double strain into a chilled coupe glass, and you get this bright red, Christmassy, spiced drink that is very lovely. So that's what I'm drinking today in celebration of our signing a big free agent, Rudolph's Nose. So what are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Matthew. That's very kind of you. Today I'm drinking a cocktail way simpler than yours.
Yes.
But somehow probably harder to make.
Yeah.
and also more expensive.
Totally.
Even though it only has 3 ingredients. Folks, a very kind person.
It's got 4 ingredients, but okay.
Okay, yeah. A very kind person presented me with a bottle of green chartreuse. And it has been a while since a bottle of green chartreuse has graced my bar. And so today, I am drinking a Last Word. And what is in a Last Word? Well, it has 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of said green chartreuse, my apologies, 1 ounce of maraschino liqueur. Now, today, folks, I am using cherry hearing maraschino liqueur, not
Luxardo. Yeah.
Which is significantly drier. And also clearer, so it creates a very different colored cocktail. This is a very dark, deep red color. And then 1 ounce of lime juice. You put all of that into a shaker with ice, and then you shake it until chilled, and then you double strain that into a coupe glass, and you garnish it with 5 brandied cherries. 5. Because, I mean, like, if you're using the green chartreuse, you might as well go hog wild.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you should do that. I'm a little taken aback by the cherry hearing substitution because I feel like the Luxardo maraschino liqueur is like the quintessential Last Word, and you've benefied it in a bastardly way, but I'm sure it's tasty nonetheless.
Well, I also used Venus No. 2 gin on this, so this is an aged gin. So
Oh.
I'm just going way off book here.
You are.
But you know what? It's my green chartreuse, and I can use it however I want.
That's true. That's true. And if you notice, folks, it's equal parts, so it's called a perfect cocktail. And it is a lovely, lovely cocktail. And Ben was very lucky to get his bottle of green chartreuse.
Indeed, I was very lucky. All right. It's time for our trivia question, Matthew. And you said we're going to do it a little differently today.
Yeah, well, now I'm not going to do it.
Oh, because
you just totally you were all like, oh, let me tell you what we're going to talk about. And then you just answered the trivia question while you were talking. So forget it. No trivia question.
This is the trivia question?
You didn't look? It's been in our show notes since we got.
I didn't look. All
right. Well, folks, I might as well tell you. But Ben answered it already. So if maybe you weren't paying attention to Ben like so many of us.
That's true. Maybe you weren't. I think you should just do it. I think you should test them.
All right. Well, the question was, who holds the record for the largest contract in Giants history?
Barry Bonds.
You would think.
That's my answer. That's Barry Bonds.
It was Barry Bonds.
I would think that.
But it is not. Folks, it was President Hobo. Mr. President Buster Posey, who signed a 9-year, $167 million contract after his MVP year, and so I think it's just poetic that he's now signed someone for and dropped himself down to the second largest contract in Giants history, Ben. But I think there's one caveat, though. We keep saying that they signed him.
Oh, no. Don't. Come on.
I have a little asterisk on it right here on our show notes. And the asterisk is pending physical.
Don't do this to me.
We're going to publish this, and then tomorrow they're going to be like, oh, we had a hangnail, and we had to cancel the contract.
Right. I have a feeling that if that were to happen, they might need to rework the contract, but I think the Giants would still be in it. And there's 2 reasons for that. The 2 individuals who were doing the Correa deal, neither of them is involved on this one.
This is true.
And in particular, this is Willy Adames is not a Scott Boras client. Believe it or not, there are some baseball players who aren't.
There's a few apparently.
And so I have a feeling that but I'm confident. We've been burned once, and then once you get burned, you feel like you're always going to be burned. But 999,999 999 times out of a million, Matthew, the player signs.
Yes. Okay.
It's just our bad luck that we were that 1 in a million chance.
Oh, all right. Well, 7 years, 182 million.
That's
which suggests a little bit of an overpay if you went by what MLB Trade Rumors predicted. Their prediction was 6 years, 160 million. Maybe that's why the deal got done early, Ben. Buster stepped up.
He did. I mean, the deal did get done early. It's, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that this signing happened before the Soto signing. Like, I'm surprised that any of these signings have happened before the Soto signing. Yeah. Now, I think that says a lot. But I think that the main thing is that, well, I think there's a good reason why this deal got done. Quite honestly, I think it's the same reason that the last 6-year deal got done.
Mm-hmm. Buster wanted it done.
That's right. That's right. Buster wanted it done. And why is that? Because Farhan wanted the deal. Farhan always wanted to save the money. He wanted to get the bargain. Posey wants the player. Farhan wanted the deal. Posey wants the player. And so he got him.
I wonder, like, being part owner, though, how much that kind of, like, helps that situation, right? I feel like he's probably got a lot more influence on his fellow owners than maybe Farhan did, don't you?
I don't think it has to do with him being an owner. I mean, I'm sure that helps. That's part of it. I think it's the fact that his name is Buster Posey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, which is kind of the same thing. Yes, he has more gravitas. He can make a deal like this, whereas Farhan maybe felt like he couldn't. But, at the end of the day, I think, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that, like, he was controlled by the owners. I don't buy that, though. There was a certain way that Farhan Zaidi behaved that made it clear he enjoyed that sort of arbitrage. Like, he loved arbitrage. The guy loves finding a deal. And so everything that he did was motivated by that desire to get the edge. So I don't know that it was just the owner saying, oh, we're not going to go extra for Ohtani. We're not going to go extra for Judge. And that's why they didn't get those guys. And I also don't think it was like, oh, we don't feel like Kevin Gausman is worth 3 years. Like, I don't think that was the owners making those decisions. That was Farhan making those decisions. And, and in some cases it worked out. It worked out really well in the Chapman case. But, look at the guy who they also signed. It looked horribly in the Snell case. So no, I think yes, it helps that he's Buster Posey, but I think also, like, Farhan liked getting the deal and did not want to feel like he was getting taken. And I don't think Posey cares. Posey wants the player, he's going to get the player. At least he did in this case. But that's also what he did in the Chapman case. So I think we're starting to see a pattern.
Yeah. Folks, ChatGPT says that arbitrage is a financial strategy that involves taking advantage of price differences for the same or similar assets in different markets or forms. The goal is to profit from these discrepancies by simultaneously buying and selling the asset. Just, wanted to, you guys were like, oh, arbitrage, what?
Sorry. So. I'm sorry for assuming everybody in our audience knows the word arbitrage means.
I didn't know. Maybe the rest of them do, but I didn't know.
I've been saying that word for 2 years.
I do want to piggyback on what you just said, though, because I think this is important. This is not the first long-term contract that Posey has negotiated. And that's not the biggest, the first one was Matt Chapman, right? And so in the span of 6 months, Buster Posey has signed 2 of the largest contracts in Giants history and solidified the left side of our infield for the next 6+ years.
Yeah. I mean, he's done the big things. These are the big pieces that we kept waiting for and never came. And, I don't want to dwell on this, but it just the guy before never did this. Right? I mean, Jung Hoo Lee, I guess, being the one exception, but Jung Hoo has options. He can get out of it. So it's, and why? Because that made the deal cheaper. Because he was Farhan Zaidi. But anyway, I don't want to talk about Farhan anymore. I want to talk about Willy Adames.
All right. Well, there are some very good reasons why the Giants needed to sign Willy Adames, and I'm going to give you last year's numbers as reason. So last year, Willy had a 4.8 F4, 112 RBI, which was second in the National League behind Shohei Ohtani. Earlier this offseason, Buster said that he was more interested in players who drove in runs than worrying about all the little kind of fancy statistical kind of stuff that we've been kind of accustomed to focusing on. And this guy does it. And then last year he hit a career high 32 home runs and had a career high 21 stolen bases. So we've been talking about the Giants needed to get more athletic, have more power. We had a big hole at shortstop, and this one signing, boom, solves all those problems. And Ben, Willy Adames is a right-handed hitter.
Woohoo! We found one. Only 90% of the population is right-handed, Matthew, but somehow we just couldn't find a power right-handed hitter that's an everyday player. So what makes him super valuable is that he's a shortstop. And quite frankly, but I mean, I think to me, Matthew, that is kind of the surprising part here to all of this. Because I really thought that the Giants were going to get Ha-Seong Kim. I thought for sure that was the guy that they were going to go get. I just, and then like a couple weeks ago, or even like less than a week ago, Chapman said that he would be willing to move to shortstop to play shortstop because Kim is hurt and needs surgery and isn't going to be available for the beginning of the season. And then, boom, out of nowhere, we get Willy Adames, who is, without a doubt, the better offensive player of the two and a great right-handed bat. And I think I'm just shocked by this because it really seemed like the direction that Posey wanted to go was pitching and defense. And here you had a guy available that really played into that, who was going to be significantly cheaper, was going to have a significantly shorter contract for sure. And instead, you go for the right-handed power bat. But I wonder if at the end of the day, it's like, of the guys that were available, this was the best player. Like, he's just better than Ha-Seong Kim. And that's what, and Posey says he's available, he fills a need, and he's the better player. So let's go get the better player. And if that's what happened, I think that really, really is a boon to Giants fans going forward, because that's something that I don't think we have seen for the last few years. Right? When you're playing these arbitrage games, you're not always trying to get the best player. You're sometimes trying to get extra value for a bargain. But then when Posey took over, he said, no, I want to get the most talented players on the field. And so I feel like maybe that's what happened here. The other thing is that he hasn't played very many games at Oracle, only 16, Really? 16? I guess
Yeah.
he was with the Rays for a while. All these guys come from Tampa, man. Like, what do they do to develop all these guys? By the way, side question. Anyway, but beyond that, he's a very, very durable player. He's averaged 148 games a year in 5 full seasons, not counting 2020. And I suppose that means, well, I mean, what's the other thing that Buster wanted? Like, I think it's pretty clear the kind of players that Buster wants, right? He wants guys who are of a certain temperament, shall we say? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Willy Adames fits that mold as well, right? This isn't a guy who has his head in the clouds. This isn't a guy who's aloof. This isn't a guy who, plays with flash and then screws it up, right? This is a guy who plays hard and plays consistently and performs. And like you said, he drives in runs. And I know that RBIs is not a sabermetrician's ideal stat, let's just say, right? Because it relies on people being on base. But here's the thing about that stat. When it's low, you can be like, sure, let's go look at all his other numbers. But when it's high, you don't have a problem.
Right.
Right? And so Willy Adames drives in runs, even though he strikes out a lot.
Right. And I mean, if you look at, I was comparing his stats with his career stats with Brandon Crawford. And now Brandon Crawford, a lot of his value came on the defensive side for sure. But he was a serviceable offensive player and had some really good seasons, particularly in 2021. And while actually Brandon Crawford's 2021 season was better than any Willy Adames season, but that was an outlier. And overall, Willy Adames has better offensive numbers across the board, for overall. And so I think we're getting back to an era where we've got a guy now that's not a hole in the lineup, that can be a above average defensive player, last year notwithstanding. And so I think this is such a home run, no pun intended, that I'm like in shock still that the Giants signed him. And what's more, what I'm not used to this, Ben. I'm not used to like the perfect player, being signed by the Giants. This is new. And I wonder, because it's been hard to convince players especially offensive players, to play at Oracle. I wonder if the Giants just showed him those 16 games and were like, you could be a pretty good player here at Oracle. You could hit 3 over 300. You could hit 4. You could have a 381 on base. I mean, you could do a lot of damage in Oracle. And so I wonder if that played a role into it. But maybe the biggest role was just Buster opened up his purse and said, "Here, Willy, take." I think that's $82 million.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, I mean, the predictions were $160 million for 6 years. I think the extra year and the extra $22 million probably put a lot of other people out.
Well, interesting you say $22 million, because that difference was a signing bonus. So Willy Adames got a $22 million signing bonus.
He got $22 million right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's that's nothing to sneeze at. I would take that. Yeah. I would take that. I would.
Nothing to sneeze at. Yeah.
But I mean, I think also like getting that deal in and getting it done right now, right, when a lot of other people aren't ready to commit, right, because they're all hoping they get Soto.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, because I think Willy Adames was probably a fallback option for many of the Soto people that don't win it. And so Buster kind of playing that and getting Willy Adames to sign early actually probably benefited Soto as well.
It probably does. But it also means that the Giants get their guy and they don't have to compete as hard with other people.
Yeah.
Right? But
well,
they had
it's
to
funny
pay
because
for it.
we've been talking about that, about like just overpay a little bit.
Yes.
That wasn't that our big thing? Like just pay a little bit more than the next guy. Like just overpay a little bit,
Yeah.
And it just seems like, Buster's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get our guy.
Yeah, and he did it.
And there was no arbitrage being done.
That's right. That's right. And he got the perfect player. He's perfect.
He did? Wow.
No, he's perfect. Don't. Nuh-uh.
A couple of things stood out, Ben.
Nope.
And
don't do this.
But this is just nitpicking. I'm not complaining about this, but we should bring it up.
All right, let's bring it up.
The guy does strike out a bit. In fact, I remember last year on social media, people were like hammering Matt Chapman's like strikeout rate.
Oh yeah,
like
Matt
my
Chapman
God, he strikes
sucks.
out once a game. He strikes out once every 4 at bats. It seems like he's always striking out. And I'm like,
he's the worst. He's the worst. Matt Chapman's the worst.
If you didn't like Matt Chapman's strikeout rate, you're not gonna like Willy Adames's. Because Matt Chapman struck out 24.4% of the time in 2024. Willy Adames struck out 25.1% of the time.
Good news. Matt Chapman is no longer the guy that's most likely to strike out on the team. And I'm ignoring McRae. Okay. Because Grant McRae, he's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe he'll learn a little bit. He's still young. He's still learning.
Sure. Maybe Kyle and VP of player development, Randy Wynn, will figure out how to teach him not to swing so much.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I don't really care about the strikeouts
Adames,
because he's got a 118 OPS plus last year, Ben. So however he makes his outs, I'm not going to quibble there.
I mean, like, look, this is the way the game is going. Like, strikeouts just, people don't care about them on the offensive side. So, like, this is the way that the game is played these days. And I know that, I know that, sorry, my cat just meowed super loud. And it sounds like somebody's being murdered. So, folks, if you turn up the volume really high and you hear a sound like that, she's fine. She's fine. But I mean, that, as I was saying, like, this is the way that the game is played these days. But also, like, it's okay to have some players that strike out a lot. This isn't about each individual player not striking out a lot. This is about having balance in your lineup. And I know
the guy hit 32 home runs last year. Let him strike out a few times.
Exactly. And he drove in 112 runs. So it's not like he was striking out at all the wrong moments, So I quite very un-San Francisco Giant-like, quite frankly.
Yeah. And the other quibble is that prior to last year, actually had a very good defensive reputation, but last year was not a good year defensively, Ben. He had negative 16 defensive runs saved. He had a career high 20 errors. So those is that like a outlier, or is it maybe the start of a decline at 29 years old? I don't know. One of the things that I saw was that 8 of those 20 errors came in a 3-week span. So maybe he was having a hard time. Maybe his girlfriend or wife was like making him sleep on the couch during those 3 weeks, or maybe he had a little bit of a fundamental issue that he was able to correct. But none of that really matters, because I feel like anybody's going to be a better shortstop when they're playing next to Matt Chapman.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge consideration here, quite honestly. Like, you don't need a superstar defensive shortstop when you have the best third baseman in all of baseball, and arguably the best third baseman in baseball for the past 30 years. And easily one of the best all time. So playing to your right. So it doesn't matter. It does make me question, like, is he better defensively than Tyler Fitzgerald was? Because if he's comparable, and I don't remember Tyler making 20 errors, I'll tell you that.
He wasn't better last year, but he's been better over his career.
Got it. Okay. Well, so if he can return to form a little bit, then this is still an upgrade over Fitzgerald. And quite honestly, I didn't hate Fitzgerald playing shortstop. Right?
I didn't either.
And why? Because we liked all the home runs. Right? We liked the offensive output. And we liked it so much, we really didn't even notice the decline. Right? When Fitzgerald, had the inevitable fall back to earth. So I think, like, yes, you can look at this and say his defense he's not a star defensive shortstop. And maybe we're a little jaded. Maybe having one of the best defensive shortstops of the last 20 years makes us feel like we should have that all the time. But as you said, he is a better offensive player for his career than Crawford. So we're getting something that's a little bit different. But when you compare him to somebody like Fitzgerald, who quite frankly didn't upset us that much, he starts to look okay. So yes, This is a concern. And if you're looking for ammo to be a hater, you can refer to the strikeout rates and the 20 errors. But also, you're a bad person. I don't mean that. You're not a bad person. You're good. You're going to win all those arguments in your shower. You're the best.
Ben, okay. The best. So I want to do a little dreaming.
Okay.
A little like just imagination exercise.
Okay.
Of what our 2025 infield is going to look like using 2024 numbers. Okay. Picture this, Ben. Picture this.
Mm-hmm.
Sicily, 1942. No, just kidding. Sorry.
Whoa, was that a Golden Girls reference?
Golden Girls reference. Yes, it was.
Oh, wow.
All right. No, picture this. Your starting third baseman is Matt Chapman with a 5.5 F4 and 121 weighted runs created plus.
Man, Matt Chapman was good.
Shortstop Willy Adames with a 4.8 F4 with a weighted runs created plus of 119.
Wow,
Your starting second baseman is Tyler Fitzgerald with a 3 F4 with a weighted runs created plus of 132.
Wait, hang on. But he only played for like 6 weeks, Matthew.
I'm just giving
you the numbers. 4 months.
Dude.
It was 4 months. Well, the F4, the WAR is a cumulative stat, right? I'm just saying.
Exactly. And then now this is where there's maybe some work to be done because you got the Lamont Wade Jr., who only had 1.3 F4 mainly because he was injured a lot, but when he played had a weighted runs created plus of 119.
Wow.
Or Bryce Eldridge.
Oh yeah, what's this or crap?
Yeah, so look at this though. You've got Matt Chapman for the next 6 years, Willy Adames for the next 7. Tyler Fitzgerald has just finished his rookie season under team control for another 6 years. And then you've got Bryce Eldridge, who hasn't even had his clock start ticking yet. This could be our infield for the next 6 years.
Well, okay. I want that to start. I mean, no offense to Lamont Wade Jr. He's a nice left-handed bat to have on the bench. He can work a walk.
Agreed. He's what we got now, but we're really looking at Bryce. Absolutely.
Yeah, I want Bryce Eldridge on opening day.
I know you already said that.
I want him on opening day. I heard some people talk about, maybe he should go back to AA. Sometimes you commenters on The Athletic, you guys just drive me insane. He's got to go back to AA.
They're the ones where their investments are in just CDs.
Right, yeah, that's it. Yeah. CDs and I-bonds.
Yeah, they just play it conservatively, Ben.
Yeah, well, they're definitely not arbitrage guys, I'll tell you that.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, but they're definitely not put it all on red.
No. Put it all on Rudolph's nose.
Yeah, I guess it's a put it all on, I don't know, what's Eldridge's number? Ooh, put it all on 22.
Oh.
Do you think they would give him 22?
No, because they're going to retire it. They're going to retire it.
Are they going to?
I think so.
They should, but are they going to? I don't know.
I think Buster retires it. I think Buster does.
You think Buster's going to retire 22?
Yes.
All right, fine.
All right, speaking of Buster, though, Ben.
Uh-huh.
What does this say about Buster? This is like his first big move as Mr. President. So, what does this say? And one of the things that stuck out to me was that, we didn't know this was coming. There was a lot of speculation that it made a lot of sense. But, and I guess Buster did say that shortstop was something he wanted to address. But he wasn't going out there making promises like Farhan and, just making these kind of statements about how he was going to fix the problem. He just did it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I think that's probably the smartest thing that I get back from this is that he's not Farhan in that regard. He's not going to overpromise and underdeliver.
No promise at all.
So so this is already a step in the right direction as far as like I'm just going to go do my job and I'm going to go do it the way I know how to do it. And he's not going to talk to us, the fans, about what he wants to do. He's just going to go do it, and I like that.
I mean, I like it so far too, right? I mean, this is all great until all these guys get hurt.
Oh, Ben.
Look, that's my job on the show. I don't know what
everybody's good until they get hurt.
Okay. But look, here's my problem. You want to know what my problem is?
Oh, we don't have enough time for that.
No. Oh, we're doing this. We're doing it right now.
Okay, what's your
40
problem?
minutes into this emergency podcast. You know what my problem is?
What is it?
I got what I wanted.
Uh-oh. Now what?
Exactly. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, that is a problem.
What am I going to do with this tattoo on my neck?
The Fire Farhan tattoo will live in infamy.
I can't. What am I?
Just enjoy your high-end cocktails, your bougie, last word cocktails, Ben, and enjoy the ride.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I think what this says about Posey is that, he just went and got the job done.
Yeah. And what I like about this is that he did not overthink it. He did not he didn't I'm going to lose qualifying. He's got a qualifying offer. I'm going to lose draft picks and we're going to lose money and I'm not going to be able to build a farm system and all the stuff that that Farhan was just like wringing his hands about. And so I just love it. He didn't overthink it. He's like, no, it's the best player out there for the position that we want and we're going to go get it.
Right.
And he signed him for 7 years. So he doesn't have to think about this for another at least 4 or 5, right? I mean, you got time now. You bought yourself some time to figure out your next shortstop.
That's right. He didn't think about the fact that Chapman and Adames are both going to be in their
36,
twilight
37.
years at the same time when these contracts are running out. A lot of people are going to think about that. A lot of fans are going to go write that on X and in the Athletic comments, and they're all going to go overthink this, and they're all going to think about how miserable life is going to be 5 years from now with these contracts. But you're absolutely right. Like, he went out and he got the best player, and he didn't let all of the other minutia get in his way. But that being said, there were some costs to this, right? Because he had a qualifying offer, right? The Brewers made Willy Adames a qualifying offer, which he declined. And since the Giants signed him, the Giants now lose draft picks. Do those picks just go to the Brewers? I don't know.
I don't think so. No,
they just disappear.
They just disappear. They get a compensation pick. Yeah, pick
that
later,
goes
but it's
in
not.
between the rounds. Man, it is wild to watch the draft because you're like, what round did you get drafted in? And some guy's like, I didn't get drafted in an A round.
I was a compensatory pick.
It was a compensatory pick. And they're like, oh. And then it's like, but I was picked ahead of the second round guys. It's weird. But anyway, so the Giants lost their second and fifth round picks plus $1 million in international bonus pool.
And this is on top of last year when they lost their second and third round picks because they signed Snell and Chapman. So there's been a couple now hits in a row to the draft. It makes Randy Wynn's job even harder, Ben.
That's right. And it's going to get even harder when they sign Corbin Burns.
Speaking of. So what's next, Ben? They still need a starting pitcher.
Yeah, they're going to go get Corbin Burns.
Still need someone to replace Snell, and you're saying Corbin Burns, who already has a qualifying offer. So that would be like a double whammy. That would be like now they would lose. Not only have they lost their second and their fifth for signing Adames, they're going to lose their third and sixth for signing Burns. But you're saying, F it, just get the best player.
I know this is totally counter to what I said last week. Not last week, last episode. Whenever that was. The Thanksgiving episode. But This might be the last word speaking. But I'm like, let's just go all in. Let's go get Corbin Burns, Bryce Eldridge on opening day. Pedal to the metal.
Folks, Green Chartreuse has like a proof of like 112 or something like that.
Well, look, it's not about the Green Chartreuse. It's about Randy Wynn, frankly. Underappreciated talent, quite frankly. And I think you hire a guy like that to be your VP of player development. Like, what they're going to do is they're going to just go to the French leagues and they're going to find just a couple of guys and they're just going to turn them into the next superstars. These draft picks, they don't matter.
Okay. Well, so Burns, though, their projection for his salary is 7 years, $200 million. Okay. Which, if they signed him, that's not cutting payroll like Buster had said. So they might need to get rid of some guys. You mentioned maybe Wade Jr., which makes sense, right? If you're going to bring in Bryce Eldridge, maybe you sign like some kind of veteran guy at a lower price to kind of come in and fill that spot until Eldridge is ready, or he comes in on opening day.
Yeah.
But the other name being thrown out, Ben, is Camilo Doval, with his salary. So you maybe trade or cut them probably trade. You're not cutting them. But, and then you're able to afford a Burns without going over the luxury tax. Are you okay with that scenario?
Oh, I was about to say over my dead body, Buster. Here's what I was about to do. Over my dead body, Buster. But then I realized he didn't care about my dead body.
No, he would step over it in a second.
I would probably step on it.
He'd wipe your feet on it for sure.
Yeah. He doesn't care. So I guess what I'm going to do then is since intimidation won't work, I'm going to go with desperation and begging. Please don't do that, Buster. Look, Matthew, I lived through Matt Williams getting traded to the Cleveland Guardians. Guardians now, Indians then. And that was awful. That was the worst day of my life up until Camilo getting traded.
Ben, all due respect, Camilo Doval is no Matt Williams.
No, he's not. He's not. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I would live through it. Also, I have this secret idea of getting like Jean-Kenzie Noel, Jazz
Chisholm?
Jazz Chisholm, yeah. I was about to call him Jazz Chapman. Created like some weird otherly worldly third baseman. And Camilo all on the same team. And then that would be my second favorite team. And then I would root for that team when they made the playoffs because they obviously would. And when the Giants don't, then that would be my playoff team. I like to call them the New York Yankees. Because I think that's in that in that nightmare scenario, that's who it would be. Because I wouldn't root for the Dodgers. So it would have to be the second worst, Yankees. But anyway, so I could live with it. I could live with it. I would be upset. And I think trading Doval now is not the best because you're trading him when he's not, his stock isn't as good as it was.
Yeah.
But I think you could still get something reasonable for the guy. Like,
I think you could. I think you could.
A closer? I'm sorry. Like, you should be able to, a top 10 closer, which is what he should be and can be, then you should be able to get something very good for that. And, very good. Like, nobody trades for great prospects anymore. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But as close to that as you could get. So I'd be okay with that.
Okay. Well, one other option, Ben, maybe to save Camilo, is they don't sign Corbin Burns, but they go for someone like Max Fried.
Okay.
His projected salary is 6 years, $156 million, so almost $50 million less than Burns. You look a little bit under the hood with Max Fried, and there's some things to like.
Yeah.
He is like a left-handed version of Logan Webb. Not quite as durable, not quite the 200 innings guy, but 58% ground ball rate last year. Only two pitchers have a lower home run allowed percentage than Max Fried, and that is Framber Valdez and Logan Webb.
Okay.
He's 31, so there's some concern there, and he's been having forearm troubles the past 2 years that has caused him to miss a few starts, but he still pitched 174 innings last year. I think he could slot in right next to Webb and be a really good addition to our rotation. I would not be disappointed in a Max Fried signing.
No, and that maybe sounds like the more, it's clear they want to stay under the luxury tax, right? And so maybe that takes Burns off the table. But also maybe they could arrange the contract in such a way. Although I don't really know how much
average.
It's by
I think
average.
It's by average. Yeah.
Maybe they make it for longer. But anyway, yeah, no, I mean, so yeah. So what you're saying is they're not going to get Corbin Burns.
Or they could just act like a big market team and have some cojones and sign the best pitcher available. But
Right.
you don't see the Dodgers worrying about draft picks and luxury taxes and all that. And granted, they've got a really good TV package that pays them a shitload of money. But
I'm tired of hearing about the Dodgers TV package, blah, 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 TV package, whatever.
Well, it's probably the number one reason why they can sign the players they do.
I heard that the MLB is going to try to take all that over in 2 years. Like a bunch of the contracts are coming up, and that would be great because you know what? I hate the fact that I have to pay for cable to watch the Giants every day. That's just random side rant there. Well, I mean, I think the point is here they have a lot of options, and I don't think starting pitching is the biggest need. Shortstop was the biggest need, and they did it. I think at this point now they can get creative. Obviously, I want them to get the best guy. And I don't care about how much money they spend, except for the luxury tax, and only because that impacts their ability to sign international free agents and their drafting, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason I care about that. Like, otherwise, spend as much money as you can up until the point where you're breaking even. I'm not going to ask billionaires to spend their own money for my entertainment because I'm not that kind of guy. But I will say, a billionaire should not be taking profits from their baseball team. And so yeah. And if you own the San Francisco Giants and you're not making the numbers work as well as they should, then you suck at your job and move out so somebody else can take over.
You tell him, Ben. That grease chartreuse, man.
Tell you what.
All right. I think that's going to end our emergency podcast, Ben. I think we've talked about Willy Adames and the impact that this has on the Giants. I'm stoked about this signing. I think that this is the start of the Posey era, and he already has two really good players locked in at Chapman and Adames, and man, I'm excited about the future, and who knows how that's going to translate into next year's team, but it's going to be fun to find out. And we'll talk more about that, I think, as we get into spring training. And you can't dissect how they're going to play in 2025 when 2024 offseason is not done yet. So I'm going to withhold judgment. But they do have. I think it's safe to say they got a little catching up to do. Right?
They're not done yet. Let's put it that way.
Yes,
this did not solve all their problems.
No, it did not. But it was a really, really good first step, and I'm excited. So, Ben, I think we're gonna try and come back in right before Christmas on the Monday before Christmas with another episode. That was our plan all along. So you get a little bonus here, but we'll be back on whatever date that is, the Monday before Christmas, and unless they sign like another free agent before then, it will be another.
What if they sign Max
podcast.
Fried but not Corbin Burns? Is that emergency podcast?
I think that's emergency pod worthy.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Because why not, right? I mean,
yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not doing it.
And it's just another reason to have a cocktail with you. So let's do it. All right, Ben. Well, it was good chatting with you. Folks, don't forget to follow us on the socials. You know what to do. You know where we're at. And don't forget to give us a review. Because maybe, you're feeling in the Christmas spirit. And you just want to just say, hey, man, Giant Cocktails, 5 stars. All right, go over and do that or whatever podcast platform you're listening. It would be greatly appreciated. Folks, have a great December. We'll see you before Christmas. Ben, it's been good talking with you. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Matthew. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
tell me about this helium shortage.
Well, okay, so they stockpiled a bunch of helium in the United States because they were worried that they would need it for like a war effort and that their supply would be cut off. Right? So they created these giant helium stockpiles. And then for a long time, people were really worried that that was it. Like, you know, because, okay, so here's the thing about helium, Matthew. It's a limited resource. Like, we're not making any more on Earth. Do you know where helium is made, Matthew? Do you know where it's
not in Thailand?
No, it's not in Thailand. It's in stars, Matthew. Helium is made in stars. And also,
there's a freaking billion of those.
Yeah, but they're all really far away.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, like, whatever exists on planet Earth, we're not getting any more of that.
Okay. So at some point, balloons won't float, is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, which kind of sucks. And so you know, the government used to sell their stockpiles of helium just to the, you know, and you know,
to the party cities of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then I once had this science teacher who was like really mad about it. This was like 50,000 years ago. He was like really mad. He's like, I can't believe we just let this so people can walk around Disneyland with their stupid, you know, whatever. He was like really bitter about it. And but then it turned out like we found out a bunch of helium, I don't know, somewhere on the planet, and everybody's like, "Yay!" Oh. So, but then I think the tide is turning again. Yeah, it's like an up and down thing, Matthew. If you really want to read something riveting, you just go do some helium research. Yeah.
Okay. I'm riveted. I'm going to go do that right now. Jeez, I wonder if Willy Adames needs some helium. I could probably buy some. Yeah.
He can buy a lot of helium now. Yeah, he could. I don't think he could corner the market, but he could.
He could alter the market for sure.
He could definitely alter the market now. Yeah, I don't know that he could, man. I think it's pretty expensive. Like when you buy it in huge numbers.
Well, he just got 22 million though.
That's true. It's what? God, man. If I had $22 million, how much helium would I buy? The answer is not zero. I'm telling you that right now. The answer is not zero. I would have some helium.
Because for every day of the year, you'd walk around with a balloon tied around your wrist.
That's right.